The Redmi Note series is probably one of the most recognizable lines of smartphones, especially in like the affordable mid-range segment. And I mean, it's beloved by everyone because, for the longest time, it has always given you pretty much more of everything compared to every other smartphone in its price bracket. And today, I've got a brand new Redmi Note smartphone. This is the Redmi Note 9S, and I mean on paper it's like a classic Redmi Note device. It's got banging specs for a banging price. But the thing is, times have changed and the Redmi Note smartphones, they're not the undisputed king of the hill anymore. That's because they've got a fierce competitor gunning for its crown. So I guess the question is this smartphone still worth your money? Well, let's see if we can find out. Since we're talking about the affordable smartphone segment, I guess there's no better place to start than with its specs. The Redmi Note 9S comes with a Snapdragon 720G processor at its core and up to 6GB of RAM and 128GB of internal storage. The model I have here is the base model with 4GB of RAM and 64GB of storage, and this device has a recommended retail price of 799 ringgit. And that puts it right in that Redmi Note sweet spot, which is great. 64GB of storage is a pretty good place to start, but if you do need more storage, you can expand it further with a micro SD card. The nice thing about this smartphone is that it features a triple card tray, so you can put 2 SIMs and a micro SD card, which means you don't have to give up on anything. Performance, despite this being a base model device, has also been pretty good so far. Now, I've only been using this for a few days, but it's held up really well. It even ran Asphalt 9 at high graphics with little to no issues, so I'm pretty happy with it. I also like the fact that there's just a big honking 5020 mAh battery inside with support for 18W fast charging. Now, I know 18W isn't super fast by today's standards, but it's still better than nothing, and you do have a massive battery cell and an efficient processor, so that's a trade-off I'm willing to make. Interestingly, the phone does come with a 22.5W fast charging brick, which is just peculiar. Now, I would like to reiterate that I've only spent a few days with this smartphone, so I can't give you exact battery life numbers yet, but so far, first impressions seem promising. Up front, you'll find a 6.67-inch IPS LCD display that seems pretty cookie cutter at this price point. It pushes a resolution of Full HD+ with a 60Hz refresh rate, so it's pretty much like the default screen for the affordable mid-range smartphone. Of course, that's not necessarily a bad thing. The screen is sharp with nice viewing angles, so I'm not gonna complain. It does look and feel a little dated, especially with those bezels, but then again, this is like a sub 800 ringgit smartphone, so that's acceptable. I am, however, not a fan of the single bottom firing speaker because it's just disappointing. It doesn't get very loud, nor does it sound very good. This spec is probably the one that feels the most dated because I haven't heard an improvement in this category in a long time across the entire price segment. The upside, however, is that this phone comes with a 3.5mm headphone jack, so you can still stick in your wired headphones of choice. Xiaomi's also included an IR blaster, which is always useful. The Redmi Note 9S also gets a fresh coat of paint. The model I have here is in a colorway called Interstellar Grey. But I do think that it looks pretty nice. It doesn't feel like particularly premium or really good in the hand, and at this point I'm not sure if the frame is actually plastic or metal, so yeah, it definitely doesn't feel like as good as some of the, or as well put together as some of the high-end stuff. But then again, this is not a high-end smartphone. I am, however, not a fan of where they've put the fingerprint scanner because now it is on the side of the smartphone. To me personally, I feel like this is the most inconvenient place to put it because it's like very hard to reach and it's not like somewhere my finger naturally rests when I'm holding a smartphone. But then again, I guess that's more down to personal preference because as far as like how accurate and fast the fingerprint scanner is, this one is right up there. By now, you've probably already noticed the massive camera bump at the back of the smartphone. With the little halo around the top two lenses, it does look a little bit like Bender, but I don't hate it. It is very vulnerable to damage if you're putting it down on the table, however. Regardless, the camera system here is a quad camera setup. You get a 48 megapixel wide camera, an 8 megapixel ultra wide camera, a 5 megapixel macro camera, and a 2 megapixel depth sensor. And I gotta say, it's pretty good for a phone at this price point. In daylight, the photos are sharp and have decent detail at 1x, but the ultra wide, well, it's just kind of there. I mean, it's a fixed focus ultra wide camera, so you really can't expect too much from it. There's also an AI mode which sort of amps up the color if you're too lazy to edit your photos in post. The camera app does offer you the option to zoom in at 2 times, like 2x zooming, but it is digital zooming and the fall off in quality is pretty apparent. I was, however, surprised at the fact that the 48 megapixel shooting mode doesn't seem to work on my device. Now, I could switch to the high resolution camera mode and take a photo with it, but then when I tried to view it in the gallery, it would get stuck in processing for like a really long time. And when it was finally done with processing, instead of like a really high-res photo, for some reason I got like a really like low-res, almost like a thumbnail photo, which the quality is just like, it's just not good. Maybe it's a software bug because there was one time that the mode actually crashed the entire camera app, so I hope Xiaomi can address this in a future software update. I did, however, like the macro camera, and it's actually quite fun to use when you're stuck at home because you can use it and take photos of like otherwise very ordinary everyday things, right? And then because of the ability to take a really close-up shot and its ability to pull out a lot of detail, it can actually like show you stuff that maybe you couldn't even see with your own eyes, so that was quite fun. I was also a fan of the 16 megapixel selfie shooter because it nailed exposure really well, it did portraits really well, like with very good edge detection, and there was also like a one button command to clear all of the beautification, which I am a big fan of. That being said, the smartphone's low light performance leaves a lot to be desired. Yes, there is a dedicated night mode, but in most of the shots that I took, I almost always preferred the ones that were taken with regular AI on. When you use the night mode, the photos definitely turn out a little brighter, but you lose a lot in the form of contrast and even color saturation. Results often end up hazy with plenty of noise. So I guess when it comes to low light, the affordable smartphones still struggle a lot. At the end of the day, perhaps to nobody's surprise, the Redmi Note 9S is a really solid smartphone for its price. I mean, it's a tried and tested formula that works great at this price point, and it's just a testament to how well Xiaomi knows this segment. But the thing is, this is one of the most competitive segments in the market, and this time around they've got a fierce competitor in the form of the Realme 6. This is an affordable mid-range smartphone that can pretty much stand toe-to-toe with the Redmi Note S, trading blows all day. Plus, it has an ace up its sleeve, a 90Hz refresh rate display. And the phone has all of that while still keeping its price below 1,000 ringgit. That said, the Realme 6 is a smidge more expensive than even the top spec Redmi Note 9S, and that could be a difference maker in such a price sensitive segment. But if you ask me right now, I just like, which one would I pick? I just couldn't make the choice. I just couldn't tell you because I haven't had the chance to try the Realme 6 out yet, so maybe my opinion will change when I do get the chance to have some hands-on time with that smartphone. But right now, that's pretty much a toss-up, and in my experience, that's always good for the consumer. But that's what I think. Which smartphone do you prefer? Are you team Redmi Note 9S or are you team Realme 6? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below, but pretty much that is it for this video. I hope you guys don't mind the new set that we're shooting at because I'm still at home and I'm doing all this by myself. So yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this too, like how can we improve the video. But yeah, pretty much that's it. I hope all of you guys are staying safe and staying home. If you want more content, stuff to watch, make sure you're subscribed to Soya Chin Chow on YouTube. You can also find us on Facebook and you can like and follow us over there. But our home will always be at soyachinchow.com. Till the next video, I'm Rory and I'll see you then. Bye!